Yes, now. Before they have chosen both first pick or battleground choice upon that loss. At this point, just more learning, more of a learning experience for Even in Death. But
Yeah.
definitely would love to see them change up composition styles like we've been seeing from them so far. So anything strike your fancy for Even in Death?
Go to a big map now. If you went to a small one like Tomb, you focus onto the wave clear, the map control. It didn't work out too well, but now look at towards a big and either do one or the other. Or commit to the macro and again work on your ability to learn macro, or have a commit to skirmishing. Those things like the Genji Avatar style compositions, the win harder, and your only win condition is by just blowing up your opponent. I want to see commitment to one of those, but just. If you're going to over-focus on macro, smallest maps are the worst to do it because it's the least likely to actually be able to pressure core while another objective is existing. So I don't hate that they went that route. I think it's safe. I just want them to really focus on that if they're going to do it on a big map like Cursed Hollow.
Well, in this case, they wanted first pick, so Tempo Storm is going to take us to Cursed Hollow. But even still, it is a bigger battleground where Even in Death can get more practice in there and try to pressure out Tempo Storm with things like maybe bosses. Try to keep up with Tempo's macro because Tempo's macro has been very good. So being able to keep up with that when we know, specifically because we have heard from the members of Even in Death, that that's what they want to work on, this is a great place to start.
Yeah, it is a great place to start. And one thing we got to be looking out for, I think, might be Illidan play. For Psalm specifically, anytime that you can get on some of these larger maps, I think that watching him on that hero would be amazing to be able to get to see some games coming out from him because Illidan now has the rise of value into the meta because a lot of his counterparts were buffed. But other than that, I think we could see anything out of Tempo. I don't have a desire for Tempo. I just want them to win, and I want them to win dominantly.
Even in Death has a possibility of picking Illidan too. Homicidal played that hero on Towers of Doom versus Team Freedom and did a great job with that too. That's about, it's so difficult to know what Even in Death is going to want because they are new to here and they've shown a lot of different playstyles.
So here it is. Going to kick off the draft. Tempo Storm selected the map, and so it's going to be first pick here for Even in Death. Hovering over the Abathur, they're going to lock it down. So now that shows already that they are putting concern into either isolating and winning on the macro, or they're going to all in into team fights. It's a map you can justify both strategies.
Uther, Genji, or Dahaka. Dahaka. So taking away both of the globals, saying if you aren't going to leave Abathur up, we won't leave Dahaka up either.
I want the Genji here, but I feel like a noob is not a bad choice, and I think it's safer. Genji is really, really high skill cap, and oh man, they're going to go with the Uther instead. Now that I think about it, maybe Uther is the best just because Uther's insane. But I don't, the Anubrak Genji over to the other side. It's now, you know, the reason why the Uther's scary is because this now goes, the standard response goes, Ariel, Vala, done. And you're like, holy cow, we cannot win this video game.
Nice.
It's nice, but it's just not on a good enough map for me to justify the pick. It's now, you know what I mean? I'm just afraid of it. I've said it on every time we see it on a big map, especially for a team. It is hard to run the strategy. For how easy and calm, how easy the strategy and how forgiving it is actually really hard. Because both your supports have to know how to support really, really well. And your Vala's got to be good at pressing buttons. But we have a lot of good Vala button pressers. We need more supports before this to really take off, I feel like.
I don't know. I'm pumped that we have a new team who has come in and they are respectful of the drafting meta. Yes, it's on a different battleground, but I am really pumped to see how all of those picks went down for Even in Death.
It's actually amazing because we could even argue that Even in Death has more respect for international meta than half of the teams in HGC and A.
Yeah.
Like, so I agree with you there. I'm not taking it away. It's just, that comes down to, is this intention to learn or to win the game? And best odds to learn, to grow as a team, you draft this all day. But if your goal is like, man, we want to win on Tempo Storm, if you're looking for the results, not the development as players, it is a riskier route.
Banning out Li Ming, Tempo Storm has been playing her quite a bit. Also, it would give Tempo a double reset composition. And beyond that, usually if you can see the Anubrak and then follow up with Li Ming too. So a lot of reasons to justify that Li Ming ban there. Illidan banned by Tempo Storm, so they do not have any inclination of running it themselves, otherwise could have picked it here. But that was also, again, something that a lot of teams, once getting Utherval at Ariel, would add in, especially a team like E-Star.
This is one of those few situations where Falstead's a viable pick on the side of Tempo Storm. It's a hero we haven't seen that much of, but there are certain parameters where it matters, and when that many globals have been removed from the map, Illidan's not an option. Falstead is actually a viable choice, especially for, Tempo Storm, just by having the opportunity to push away the Holy Trinity in case fights get just ugly at all. They're going to go with the Greymane Malfurion. A lot of burst there from the comp on the side of Tempo Storm.
Yeah, it leaves that last option open because not only of what they have there and what they've drafted in the last role that they have, but specifically based on who is playing what.
It's now for even in death. I like the Arthas as a frontliner here. And what else with it? I don't mind the idea of them going into the Falstead themselves to be able to disengage if fights do look really weird, because you can reset with the double supporting by a little bit of time and be successful in the fights. It would give a global over them, but it's not the most reliable DPS. And again, I'm concerned about how much global pressure it's actually going to provide against a team like Tempo.
I think if even in death don't take Tyrael here, for whatever reason, if they wanted to have a double warrior, that's where Tempo is leaning for that last pick. Varian Chen, hey hey!
Wow. The Chen here with even those three. The Varian in. How... I'm a little bit torn on how I feel about this, actually. I can't tell if I'm really impressed or if I'm really scared. Chen doesn't have too big of interrupts remaining, only a Nubarak, but a Nubarak, if he has to commit one of his resources just on the Chen, again, that's a really good thing. If he has to always save spells to interrupt Chen, Varian can provide pressure onto the Genji. I mean, look at Tempo Storm's already going like, yo, we might not know how to deal with this.
Okay, they do get Falstead. So, sort of triple backline, but Genji is pseudo back and forth. Tempo Storm still got a global in the end, though, which would be good. Yeah. I think they felt like they needed somebody who could hang out with Chen.
Yeah, and honestly, I like what we saw from Even in Death. It's just that Tempo has a pretty well-rounded draft on top of it, and it's pretty forgiving, especially with the Falstead and having a global advantage. But more importantly than anything, they have Genji with a Nubarak setup and a Curse Bullet follow-up. We have seen so many teams just absolutely dominate with Curse Bullet. It's blow-up potential onto front lines, especially anything past a Nubarak, because, again, we don't have very mobile frontliners, which make them very susceptible to the Greymane. I'm still feeling very, Tempo should be more controlled in this game than maybe even they were in the last one.
Tempo do have that blow up, but there are some tanky heroes in the double support behind to try to deal with it, right? You've got Varian with the parry build. Chin, maybe a target there, but he has his own brew. Could maybe even go for grounding brew if he wants to try to deal with some of the spell damage coming out. And then the double support behind it.
If this is not Taunt Varian, I love the Varian pick. But if it's Taunt Varian, this is one of the few cases where I actually hate seeing Taunt Varian. I would love if it's Colossus Smash. I would love it if it's Twin Blades. But I don't want to see the Taunt because it's like, you already have enough survivability, enough lockdown. You need to be killing things. You need somebody else to be able to aid and move forward and be pressuring. I don't care which one it is. I just don't want it to be Taunt.
I don't know. The armor is hard to give up. And the lockdown, we'll see what they decide to choose for their Varian. We're going into game number 2.
You know what I mean? Do you ever just get that way? You're just sick of seeing that heroic choice. It's not even that it's that bad.
It's that same old taunt.
It's just like one of those things where it's... The other options have proven to not be absolutely horrific, that they have a spot in freak circumstances. I don't look at the taunt and go, that makes this draft right now. It's just good. So, give me some spice here. Start it off. High King's Quest, level 1, right? That's what I want. He's hovering. He's hearing me right now. I'm speaking to his soul.
Lion's Maw.
High King's Quest.
We missed who was playing it. Is that any indication? No, because it is
Battery.
Still Battery.
front wall.
That's 2 parries.
He didn't even take a talent.
No.
Gilly, this talent's killing me.
You can think of nothing else. Well, I'll talk about other things. Change up on Ario level 1 from last game. Instead, getting Righteous Assault for the cooldown reduction. We've talked about the pairings, the different pairings that are possible at level 13 there. Level 1 for Chen is not Grounding Brew, it's Elusive Brawler, which allows Chen to not only be able to block, completely evade a lot of auto attacks, but also even be able to tank some tower shots too for the team.
Look at Tempo Storm. That's the second front wall they're working on. Well, it's only been the first of Even in Death. Went with the parry, man. He selected a talent.
You know he was like, guys, is this it? Is this the game? Is this Twin Blades?
I wish.
3-man's doing work in the bottom lane. Taking out a fort.
It is doing a lot of work here, a lot of pressure coming out from the members of Even in Death. The fort goes down, but Tempo's got the counter response. The pick up onto Varian actually cost quite a bit of XP over to Even in Death. And there's the trade, both into the respective boss lanes. Do we see the members of Even in Death stop, or do they continue in farther? This is strategy that we see draft-wise on the side of Even in Death was done by Fnatic on Sky Temple versus Dignitas, but how they did it was just took fort cycle. Psalm gets caught out. Now they just got to keep the pressure up on mid. Just rotate around the entire map. Give up the tributes, ignore everything. It's just pressure out and realize Tempo Storm can't stop you.
There he is. Drinking to tank the towers with Chen and the rest of the team. Even in Death are hoping to continue to deconstruct the structures of Tempo Storm. Checking out Cattle's build on Falstad. The Gathering Storm emerges, as well as Static Shield. Is this a change-up because it's the triple backline? What do you think prompted that?
Well, first of all, at the MSB, we had a very confused competitor on what is the appropriate way. Kakuma.
Tano is in a weird spot.
Goes down. That's a battery falling as well, so that means Frozen X's healing is going to be crippled quite severely there. Tries to get the heal on Hound to win. Homicidal getting the retreat out. Nice root coming out from June, but the damage isn't there. Again, double support is really hard to be able to get a pick into.
That's a little bit confusing because we have the battery, and then we have battery.
What if battery plays the battery?
Oh, perfect. That's what we need. Let's just ask them to roll swap.
I feel like that's like actually just breaks the rules of battery somewhere, and it will just cause an explosion. Like the entire game just crashes. Everybody blue screens at home. You and I probably just immediately die.
I think we'd probably just go on a dancing spree.
That's your first instinct.
Yeah.
Dancing spree.
We gotta do something to entertain, so we're just gonna hang out up here and dance at the desk.
I would rather go for an a cappella series. After our testing of the waters of our singing vocals that we got out, I'm going to be honest, my moves aren't that good, but I'd be willing to put money on the vocal
You do
aspect.
have the voice.
You know, you say that, but I don't feel the same way as you do. I was just mainly putting blind faith that you would carry the team if we went the a cappella route. I'd be the guy in the background going like boom, bup, bup. You know, that's all I do the whole time. Maybe throw in a finger snap here and there.
You got the backups. I'll take the
You're the lead vocalist. I'm just the guy there providing, like, making it sound like you gave more effort than just a, hey, I wanted a solo the whole time, you know?
I hate to break it to you, but nobody wants to hear my voice about as much as Even in Death do not want to see that this boss has been taken by Tempo.
But it's there. Conveniently, it was about the exact same time this tribute spawned, so they should feel comfortable knowing they have a mana advantage for a long while, which is why you see that instant initiation onto Psalm. They should overcommit to the zone and then get it.
No fort in the top, boss pushing there, so that has to be dealt with by Even in Death. But Even in Death are keeping up-ish in experience versus Tempo Storm, which is nice. Just frustrating knowing that Tempo Storm, in having so much damage, and having Greymane especially, were able to get that boss so early on. And in seeing the response here, they have to know that it's possible that Tempo Storm, not showing on the battleground, could be looking at their boss, but they're also considering trying to take down another fort.
I'd like to see the fort. It's a safer play there. Falstad stuck in transition. As he moves back up into mid, realizing that's an entire 5-man barrel roll down. The body blocks are here. He's got about 10 more seconds. Homicidal needs to dodge. Doesn't even matter, actually. Static Shield isn't going to be enough. That is the pick. I thought for sure Chen, ideally in there, if you're chasing the false head, whoever he puts his W on, as long as he takes Static Shield, you want to break that as fast as possible.
But he had the Brew to drop down to slow, and then they still had Hammer of Justice to kill him from that too.
Yeah, they did a good job there with the CCs, and that gives now Even in Death another kill.
Tempo Storm's still going to try to force this. Varian's not here. He's trying to collect the tribute in the bottom half of the battleground. All of Even in Death rotating in a way to try to delay Tempo Storm from getting into position to stop this.
That is now a terrible moment for Even in Death. The fact that was able to delay, they're so close to 10, excuse me, Tempo Storm is now going to be able to pick up that tribute. The way you avoid that is Even in Death had to commit all the other members other than the Varian down to cut off the movement of Tempo Storm, but without doing that, Tempo now has not only a level lead, they have the 10s, and they've got the 2 tributes. Conveniently, there's only one boss remaining on the map, and it's closer to Even in Death spawn.
But what are Tempo doing with that advantage? They're pushing down structures.
They are. They are. It's with 10 advantage, though.
Don't say but. No buts.
I didn't. I intentionally avoided the word but.
I was about to kick you.
I know. You were actually going to rip me a new face. I ripped my face off was where I was going, then word vomit, and then here we land with rip my face. You know, I didn't ask to be this way, okay? In the words of my brother, why are you the way you are? I ask myself that every morning.
Even in Death's asking that of Tempo Storm 2. Cocoon used, even some zoning roots. Even in Death will have to deal with the boss. But they're going to hope to fight, maybe. They've caught one.
The taunt. Psalm reflects out. Blade swipe, and he's gone. The tribute was picked up, though. Even in Death, they're only a level behind. The structures, yeah, they're kind of in favor of Tempo, but they don't matter that much. It's still okay. It's just this curse that gets really scary.
Yeah, everyone, they have to leave this boss because they cannot give Tempo the curse.
Are they too slow? No, they're going to make it in time. Falstead's yet to show on bottom, so they have no idea if Falstead is not joined. Now Falstead shows. They initiate immediately, forcing the cleanse from June. Psalm on the backside interrupts over Frozen X. This is just a stall game. They want the keep through Falstad.
Yeah, they know they can sense the panic of Even in Death, and they're taking advantage of that. Even in Death get the tribute. Falstad the whole time was pushing in the bot. And now for the next tribute, Tempo Storm can bank on having 13.
Yeah, having that front wall down, they're going to have the talent tier advantage over the actual curse point. It's nice here for Tempo Storm, and it's going to allow them to threaten keeps. The convenient thing here is the fact that the curse is always fortless here for Tempo Storm. So then they have that keep pressure so quickly, so very early on. And again, that's so impactful on a map like Cursed Hollow because it's so hard to figure out when you actually can win the video game, when it is the right time to right-click the core. Even worse for Even in Death, Tempo Storm spawn on this tribute.
That boss is up in 30 seconds as well. So that will be an availability along with the curse for Tempo Storm. 13's there for Tempo. It's not for Even in Death, but they're still willing to take the fight. They know that this is a difficult spot for themselves to be in.
Psalm got taunted, forced the cleanse onto June. The Cocoon goes down. The Twilight Dream after the gust is real. The members of Tempo Storm set up the wombo. They hit the combo, and now the Divine Shield dropping onto Battery. It's only a matter of time. This is 5-0, Gilly. Straight cleaning house.
That is a team wipe. This will be staggered death, as Battery will eventually go down, just as the start of that curse, which means there's going to be even, longer where there's no variance.
Yeah.
This is a big push for Tempo Storm in this game.
Should be like a double keep minimum. Falstead's already getting work on bottom. He's got Giants to be able to access. They're going to pressure through top. They can leave the fight. They've got 7 seconds before they have to fear anything. And Falstead has now made the transition over. They've got 13 seconds till Gus, 43 until we see the Twilight Dream online. But Gus is my biggest concern. Even in Death is going to be gusted away from their keep into Tempo. Barrel roll away. And now expect the flight out of Fog.
Even in Death has been going for these taunt plays to blow somebody up, but the problem is one cleanse gets the target out, especially when it's Psalm. Trying to taunt him out and hit him, stun lock him down before he can deflect, but banking on the cleanse every time is Tempo Storm. They have the cleanse, they get him out, and then somebody is always flanking. If it's not Psalm who's getting targeted with the taunt, then Psalm's flanking from behind, causing issues for the backline. If it's not Psalm, it is, in that case, Falstad with a perfect gust into Twilight Dream.
Psalm is always flanking from a different angle, and they're trying to punish it. Is Tempo going to make, or excuse me, Even in Death going to make this in time? No, they will not. And now this might be the beginning of the end here, Gilly. The fact that they got this is too late. They all end here for this play. Look at Psalm. On the backside, he got the Dragon Blade. He goes into Fog, though. Cattle is under a bit of pressure. There goes a taunt. June is fine. Twilight Dream is available. No heroics other than that, though, are here for Tempo. There's the Dream. The turn is real.
3 down instantly. Homicidal's the next to fall. There's an ice block for June, but there's only 1 left, and even he goes down. Uther taken out. Tempo Storm wipes Even in Death from that fight. Was like a ticking time bomb almost. Even in Death got through a lot of the abilities, but it was the Twilight Dream that sealed the deal.
And that is going to be it here. Tempo Storm, in under 12 minutes, will in fact be able to take game number 2 over Even in Death.
Tempo Storm getting a 2-0 so far in this series. Even in Death, I mean, it's what anybody would expect from this. I'm sure it's what Even in Death expected from this series too. But they have one last chance to maybe get a point on the board, get a win off of Tempo Storm. I think it comes down to, do they want to bring out something like a cheese, a strategy designed to get a win, or is it more just for them about trying to get as much time in with Tempo Storm with the strategy so that they can improve as players?
I personally would like to see just keep learning, right? You're going to be here a long while. This isn't a one-stop shop tournament, because that's like the biggest thing with HGC's format is it's a league. You aren't going anywhere for a while. Granted, you want to learn as fast as possible, as quick as possible, and that these games do impact your standings, but I'd be aiming for the long run. If I can sacrifice any series, again, the teams that I expect to gain points and the ones I expect to lose points, I expect to lose the Tempo, so that I'm going to look to learn from. The minute I get to a team where it's like, this is one where I need this not to get knocked out of the tournament, then I go, I don't care, I need cheese. It doesn't matter. I'm more worried about actually making sure I get wins.
Well, that is 1 and 2 games, but we've got game 3 coming up after this break. We'll see you soon. Into Twilight Dream.
Psalm is always flanking from a different angle, and they're trying to punish it. Is Tempo going to make, or excuse me, Even in Death going to make this in time? No, they will not. And now this might be the beginning of the end here, Gilly. The fact that they got this is too late. They all end here for this play. Look at Psalm. On the backside, he got the Dragon Blade. He goes into Fog, though. Cattle is under a bit of pressure. There goes a taunt. June is fine. Twilight Dream is available. No heroics other than that, though, are here for Tempo. There's the Dream. The turn is real.
3 down instantly. Homicidal's the next to fall. There's an ice block for June, but there's only 1 left.